That's fantastic. Beautiful. So what inspired this? I know there's always been, well, first of all, we should just say for people who don't know, you have been at the front of the line for decades talking about these lost civilizations. And from reading your work, I mean, I think I first read your work in the 90s. You exposed me to a lot of these, what were at the time controversial ideas that have now been substantiated by actual evidence, particularly Göbekli Tepe and I mean the all the water erosion stuff on the Sphinx, and I've since had Dr. Robert Schoch on the podcast to talk about that as well. But all this stuff was at one point very controversial, and now far less.
Yes,
I mean whatever traditional academics and traditional historians that are trying to, I guess as archaeologists, that we're trying to resist, they've let go a lot of that. They've had to with things like Göbekli Tepe.
They've had to because the evidence has overwhelmed them. And Göbekli Tepe is an excellent example. Prior to the discovery and excavation of Göbekli Tepe, which is a site in Anatolia in Turkey, it was the view, very firm view of archaeologists, that there had been no megalithic architecture anywhere on Earth. And when I say megalithic, I mean literally big stones, stone circles, huge constructions, nothing like that before at the very, very earliest 6,000 years ago. And they would point to sites in, for example, Malta, a site called Gigantia, which is about 5,800 years old. That's the oldest megalithic architecture in the world. And they could understand how that was because these were agricultural societies. They generated surpluses. You could free up people who could become specialists in architecture, in astronomy, in geometry, and they could apply their skills to the construction of these sites. But what they never considered possible was that a society that was hunter-gatherers would have created a gigantic megalithic site. And then suddenly Göbekli Tepe is discovered. It dates to 11,600 years ago. It's more than 5,000 years older than the supposedly oldest megalithic architecture in the world. And it is in a center where there had been no previous evidence of agriculture. But the moment Göbekli Tepe appears, agriculture appears as well.